He's at 20 yards, then he starts getting 30, 40, and he's finally in the window. And I'm like, I really don't want to shoot him at 40. And I had to give him a couple maps to stop him. He stopped, looked the other way. I shot. He dropped, or he arrow. I didn't see the arrow. He ducked, did the tail, did the run, did the death run. I'm thinking that was a solid shot. I look up. Here are the three other 8 points that we had in the 10-point jumped out of they were 10 yards from him. I didn't even know they were there. They jumped out, ran one way, 8 doe ran the other way. And I'm thinking, what in the heck just happened?
Hey boys, what's going on?
What's up, dude?
We got ourselves another episode of Tracks and Tackle happening tonight. Let me see if I can get everybody on the screen tonight. Kris, what's happening with you, man?
Man, just living life and recovering from Christmas and hanging out, man. Excited to tell some stories. Here's some stories.
Well, we got a good one for us tonight. We got Dan Sauble from Mason Dixon Adventures joining us tonight. Let me see if I can get him up on the screen here. There
Hey, Ron,
he
hey,
is.
Kris.
What's going on, Dan?
Not much.
What's up,
How you guys doing?
Good, buddy. How are you?
Good, man. Appreciate you joining us tonight.
I'm good.
Dan is the winner of the 3B raffle we did a couple weeks ago. And Kris, maybe why don't I just toss it over to you and let you do the introduction here as far as how we got to connect with Dan.
Yeah, so more than a couple weeks ago now, but back at probably right in the middle of bow season, we were getting close to 5,000 followers. So I threw a contest up, like, share, one of those things, and we're going to pick a winner once we hit it. And Mason Dixon, is it Mason Dixon Adventures or Bow Hunting Adventures? Dan, I just call you Dan now. So
You can call me Dan. Mason Dixon Adventures is the name,
Okay.
I guess, we come up with.
Then we picked it and ended up being a fairly local guy that knew some of the guys from Ron's tribe. One of the things was come on the podcast and tell stories. And I think luck had a good say in this one because you got some good stories and some good adventures to share, bro.
Yeah,
Glad you're here.
that.
Glad to have met you. And you're from Adams County, East Berlin. Is that where you're from?
East Berlin, yes, sir.
Okay. That's
So
kind of the divider between me and Ron right now, right?
Yeah, like you're splitting the difference between us. And so Kris told me, he's like, "Hey, I'm talking to Dan Sauble." I'm like, "Man, I know that name. Like, I know that last name." And I couldn't place it until Dan and I talked. I couldn't place, how I might have known him. But we grew up and our circles crossed paths a little bit.
Yeah, couple different ways in playing baseball when we were younger.
Here's the $1 million East Berlin question, okay? Which is the better rudders? The one in town or the one up off of 94 that's really not in East Berlin, but everybody goes there because that's where the map's at?
I don't know. I've probably been to the rudders in town once in the last 2-3 years.
Every time I buy something from Marketplace, they're like, meet me at the rudders in East Berlin.
I actually spend more time down in Manchester, Maryland.
Okay. All right. You're not too far from my stomping grounds then, so all right.
Yeah,
Let's get into it, Ron.
I try not to leave the house too much other than the hardware store and go to work. That's about it.
Yeah.
Well, Dan, why don't you go ahead? I mean, certainly we've been able to connect, and I'm glad you joining the group and coming in and giving us your time to be on the show. But why don't you just introduce Mason Dixon Adventures to our audience? Tell everybody who you are, how you got started, and we'll get into your story.
Okay. Yeah. First of all, I appreciate you guys having me on. I'm thrilled to do this. For me, this is like a team's meeting for work, but I usually try not to go to them. So I actually want to come to this.
Dude.
Yeah.
And HR ain't watching, so I know we're good on that aspect.
There you go.
But yeah, so I mean, I grew up here in Adams County on a farm. Me and my dad and my two brothers, and I really didn't hunt growing up. They did. We went out a couple times, did the typical Pennsylvania farm hunt. You sit for an hour, start putting on drives, running everything all over the place, and just shooting like crazy, anything you can see running. And at that time, I was 12, 13 years old, and it just didn't appeal to me. I mean, I was into sports, playing a lot of baseball, doing some other things, and then obviously at that age, girls and that type of thing. So, and we had hogs and cows on the farm, so it wasn't like we had to hunt to eat. Um, and just never really got into it. And some couple of my uncles, they hunted here and there, and they take me out, and we'd do things here and there and get into it, and really never got too in depth or too excited about any of it, because those times rifle season come around back in the day, it seemed like it was colder than it is now. So,
No doubt.
and that's
No
another
doubt.
reason. What the hell do you want to be out in the cold for? Because I mean, we've seen doe running around, and we got 1,000-pound steers we can eat. What do I care about a 50-pound doe? Um, and then I'd say it wasn't until I built my house, built my garage, and worked my ass off to do all that stuff, and realized now the work's done. There's nothing to do. What are you going to do? And talking to my one buddy, and Ron, you grew up with him, Bruce Wilt, and Bruce
Mm-hmm.
is like, well, he's like, do you want to hunt? I'm like, I don't know. It's not up on me. And he's like, come on. We go down to the bow shop, Marcio's, get down to Marcio's and pick out a bow and pick out tree stands and come back to the house and targets and start shooting. I'm like, this is pretty nice. This is relaxing. This is something to do. And then, he started teaching me this and that, and go out and mess around a little bit, not having any freaking clue what I'm doing or what's going on. And I think it went maybe 2 years till we'd shoot, and it was just like a relaxing thing after work. You don't have to think. You're not killing yourself. It's a good way to unwind and relax and clear your mind and stuff.
A lot of fun.
Yeah, and so he taught me how to shoot bow, and I mean, I didn't know what a release was, any of this, any of that. I grabbed the bow, pulled it back with my fingers. I'm getting ready to shoot it, and he's like, "That's not how this works." He's like, "You're not Fred Bear." I'm like, "Okay." And
Who's that, right? Yeah.
yeah, at that point, I'm like, "Who's Fred Bear?" And then got into that a little bit, and just spent a couple of years practicing shooting. And my dad was against it. He's like, "I don't want you bow hunting on the farm." He said, "The neighbors they're always wounding them." He said, "None of them can hit anything. There's deer running around with arrows in." He goes, "We want them killed for the crops, but we want them killed clean and ethically." And he's like, "So you better start with a gun." So what do? I go buy a gun, and we used to shoot it in and everything. And I'm like, it's just not for me. Not against it, but it's not for me. And so he said, "If you want to go bow hunting," he said, and my dad's not a big hunter. I mean, he'll go out here and there and shoot a couple things, and he knows what to do. He taught us how to field dress and how to gut them and everything. And he comes over to the house one day, and he goes, "All right, set your target up and shoot 4 arrows." Okay, so you can put 4 arrows in the kill zone. You can go out in the farm and go hunting. Okay.
That's all
I
it
put,
takes, man.
yeah,
That's all it takes.
I put 4 in. He looked and he goes, "Well, I'll be damned." He said, "You can go." I went first couple years, and I was too fidgety. I was probably like your brother Chris, amped up and can't sit still, and every noise you hear, you're twisting, you're turning, like ain't gonna see nothing. So I think it was like the third year I finally shot one, and shot it all excited, called him, run up to the house. I said, "I hit one." He goes, "Where?" I said, "I don't know. I hit it. There's blood on the arrow, and I hit it." And he's like, "Well, let's give it, an hour or two." He goes, I know bow hunting that you need to wait." He goes, "Ain't gonna drop on the spot." And we go down, we start going through the pasture, and he's got a roll of toilet paper, and we're putting the toilet paper out and looking back, and we're going 20 yards, 30 yards, 50 yards, 80 yards. Turns around, looks at me, goes, "Did you hit the deer?" "Yes, I hit the deer." So we
That's
look
the
up.
hard part about archery, man. You
Yeah.
know?
Well, and it was a 40-yard shot. I mean, I had just started and I'm practicing. I feel good standing out in the yard and shooting at something, not a live target, 20, 30 yards. Okay. That deer came in. I was shaking and shivering so bad. Boom, let it fly. Now he holds the flashlight up and he goes, its head's still up. I said, okay. He goes, it's wounded. I can tell. He goes, let's go back to the house. We'll give it an hour or two. He said,
Yeah.
depending where you hit it, he said, you might need a couple hours. He goes, it's cold. We could wait overnight. So I told him, okay, we'll let it go. But he knows patience is not my virtue.
That's one of the hardest things to do. I mean, as a bow hunter, you know, it's the right thing to do, but
right.
it's hard to do, you know, knowing that you got that animal down.
So
At least
my ram ass, I go back 2 hours later because it's 2:00 in the morning. I know he's in bed. If I don't use the flashlight, he's not going to see me. I go down, deer's head's still up. So I set the spotlight on the ground. I get 20 yards away and I shoot. It drops. Okay. I'm thinking, you know what? Now I don't know what to do.
Now what?
I'm like, and I can't call him because he's asleep.
Yeah.
He told me to wait till the morning. So I did my best, got it up. He called me in the morning. He said, you want to go look for this thing? I said, no. I said, it's hanging in the garage off of the tractor. I said, I think we're good. And he goes, what was it? I said, I'm afraid to tell you. He said, is it legal? I said, it's legal. I said, but it's, he goes, well, it looked like a big deer. I said, yeah, but it's a button buck. And he's like, hey, he said, you killed one with a bow and arrow. He said, I don't care if it had spots on it.
Hunt your hunt, man. Hunt your hunt.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's one of
Yep.
the things we talk about all the time is, you know, especially with the social media being the way that it is right now, everybody talks about, you know, especially trophy hunters. If you got big bucks around, you talk about letting them pass, give it another year, etc. But I don't care, man. If you're going to eat that deer, and especially that's your first one, like who cares?
Yeah. And
Go get
I
it.
think that's the thing that you guys can both relate to is in the areas we're in, you talk about let them grow. If you don't or I don't, the next guy will, or the next guy will, or the next guy will, which makes it frustrating. But in the same sense, I mean, I think, you know, the nice thing about the guys that I run around with, I hunt with, I talk to, like, and similar with you guys with the collaborative is, you know, we could care less what anybody shoots. Like the first question isn't how big was it? It's like, how far did it go? Which way
Right.
did it react? What did it do? And then we're like,
Come
oh
on.
yeah, it was an 8-point. Or
Yeah.
you know what? It was a yearly.
So that's a
Yeah.
cool story, man. How did so Mason Dixon Adventures, like what spawned that?
So I mean, that was back what 04, 05 area, and when I started up, you know, just hunting and doing stuff, and then it was like I think I shot my first buck in '08. So I had a drought. But once I hit that first buck, I mean, it was just, I'm like, where can I hunt next? What can I do?
And
And
now
I'm
you
like,
get the bug.
yeah, I'm like, okay. I'm like, and me and Bruce go to the outdoor show and we're walking around talking to people. And this guy says, he's from North Carolina and he's got wild hogs. And he's like, you can shoot as many as you want and you can shoot them year round. Like, that's all you got to tell two rednecks from Adams County is you can shoot whatever you want, whenever you want. We'll be down. And it just, I mean, barrel rolled from there. And then, you know, I got hooked up with a different group of guys, the Hardmans out of York, Garrett, my buddy. We met on actually a work trip. We were working for two different divisions of the company, and we went down to Schrader's Outdoors down on the Eastern Shore for like a claybird shoot, grouse hunt thing. And we got to talking, find out, hey, he lives right down the road in York. And then he starts to tell me about Maryland and how him and his dad Huzzy have hunted Maryland and Pretty Boy and Liberty and all the watersheds for years. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, you can shoot 3 buck in Maryland, unlimited doe in Baltimore County, and probably 20 doe in Carroll County. And I'm like, you mean, because in Pennsylvania, we got 1 buck tag, and for years we could get what, a doe or 2, maybe 3 doe tags. And these
If you
guys are
got
telling
those.
me, yeah, I'm like, you mean I can shoot like 50 deer a year? Now, and keep in mind, at this point, I've maybe shot 4 deer over 12 years. But so that's what really got it rolling. And they got me introduced to Maryland hunting and Pretty Boy and that type of thing. And then started to, my dad was hauling grain for some people down around Carroll County, and got to talking to them. And they're like, well, we want deer killed, but we can't let you rifle hunt with where we're at with the houses and everything. And my dad just kind of laughed, and he goes, well, what if they only use bow? And he goes, well, if they use a bow, they're not going to make out too well, but whatever, we'll let them try. And that's when I started messing around, filming stuff, using the Tacticam on my bow, the stabilizer cam, and then started messing around, put the iPhone in the tree, put this in the tree, and start filming it and trying. Because once I had probably, 10, 12 years experience, I started to get comfortable with how the animals reacted and how they were. And you could, because I mean, first couple times I went out, I was like, they come in, you got to be ready. And you start to realize that you don't have to be in a hurry. You can wait, you can relax, and then you can get away what you can get away with and not after. I mean, if I would have started hunting when I was 8, 9 years old, I'd have had that knowledge and known that thing until then. And that's when my wife's like, well, why don't you start, putting it on YouTube and putting it on whatever? And I'm like, I don't do social media stuff. I don't like computers, technology, anything, which, Ron, we were talking, that's my job. I work on a computer all day long. So we started talking about it, and she's like, you got to come up with a name. And I like, the first couple names weren't appropriate.
Get you banned from YouTube real quick.
Yeah, probably. I think the first account I had did get banned, like one video in.
There you go.
But she's like, and then we started, like I said, we started hunting Maryland, and she's like, what about something with Mason Dixon or not? So we start Googling to make sure that's not like some weirdo website or some other thing that somebody might mistake. And she's like, yeah, Mason Dixon Adventures sounds good. She's like, why don't you do it? And, just start doing it, which for me wasn't comfortable, isn't a comfortable thing. You're thinking like, people are going to judge you. They're going to say this, they're going to say that. And I think I just got to a point where I'm like, you know what? F it. I'm doing it.
That's what you got to do. I mean, you can't really care what people think, because most people that are going to follow your channel and actually connect in, I mean, certainly you'll have, the people around you will support you to some degree, but most people are strangers, people that,
yeah,
it's something you say, something you do. And, we've met some really cool people just by, online through the content and stuff that we put out. And it's people we never would have met otherwise.
Yeah. And it's crazy too, because, it was a random thing, but then I'm like, okay, Mason Dixon, he's got to be from around here somewhere. And then to find out you're that close, but like Ron,
would have been better if I was in Georgia.
Yeah. What the heck? We, like Ron said, I mean, and we look for that sometimes when we're trying to find people, look for different guys from the state, or Keystone this, or PA that, or Maryland Dixon, Mason Dixon, Maryland stuff. So I'll backtrack a little bit, man, when you were talking about, growing up and how far you've come with bow hunting. My dad is like a huge bow hunter, and Ron's been to his little man cave down there and seen just the stuff.
Yeah.
It's like the stuff of legend, but when he deer hunted his whole life, and they rifle hunted and did, even though they lived in Maryland, they would come up to PA, not far from where your hunt camp is, Ron. They'd go up and do deer drives and do all that stuff, but he didn't get to bow hunting until, real big push in the late 80s and 90s, early 90s, when bow hunting started getting big. And he went out for years, I remember, and just didn't get one. And he's got it in his basement next to all his big shoulder mounts and Euros. He's got this one, and it's a 3-point. It has 2 that go up, and then he had some defect where he had like a drop point that came down and hooked up. And he was so pumped, that he killed that deer with his bow. It was such a cool memory, and now he's like the bow guy. I mean, that's what he does. He hunts the first day of rifle season with us. And the only other time he doesn't take his bow is if he loves to muzzleloader hunt. Like that's his other thing. He does that. But other than that, so, you know, I can relate to some of your stories with that. So, um,
Yeah, I
seems
mean,
like you've, go ahead.
so sorry, Chris. I was just gonna say, like, I mean, we can relate to the bow hunting piece. You know, I certainly would prefer to bow hunt than to hunt with rifle. Um, you know, but when you get to sit back, I think we were talking before the show a little bit about you know, hanging out with your buddies, having the tailgate talks, and you
Hmm.
know, showing off, hey, this is what I got this year. This is what you know you shot this year, and comparing notes. And it's not like you're really comparing; it's just that you're sharing those memories. And
Yeah, and
that's what we're all about. We're all about sharing memories. But it's so cool to sit back and like I look at the wall behind you, and it's listening to the stories. You remember the stories, like when I shot that buck, you
hmm
know, and whenever I took that buck, this is where I was, and this is how it was an evening hunt, and it was just before dark or whatever the details might be. That's what we're all about, man. I always go back to it's a storytelling. It's the memories that keep us coming back.
yeah,
Do
and
you think, Dan, go ahead, buddy.
it's funny, the main reason I got into bow hunting was because, and I didn't know that bow hunting started 2 months before rifle, but they're
Hmm.
telling me, you can bow hunt in October. I'm like, wait, that ain't cold as hell. Okay, cool.
I can do
I,
that.
I can be done by Thanksgiving was the main driver. But then once I killed the first one with a bow, and the first buck I had killed, I had grunted in, and it was last light, and I'm just, I start blowing on the old black grunt tube, and about shitting my pants, this buck jumps up and comes running around, and he was maybe a this wide 7 point, and he was at 20 yards, and he looking at me, and I shot crack, and he ran off about 50 yards, and I heard the corn swirl and fall, and I'm, after watching those Michael Waddell videos and that, you're like, now he's shooting a 180-inch deer, but shit, I'll take this 60-inch one. He crashed, and I'm like, again, now it's been like 2, 3 years since I shot a deer. I'm like, what do I do? So I called my buddy Rick, and he comes over and he rips the guts out. But I was like, I want you to show me. And by the time I said, I want you to show me, he's got the guts out, and he goes, throw that thing in the truck. Let's get back to the house and hang it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And from there, it was just like, like I said, I have nothing against rifle hunting. I do actually have a pretty good rifle story here from the other year, but it's just that thrill of, the mind game of learning the animal, getting that close. And in my mind, I could care less if you shoot a 3 point or a 12 point. If you shoot anything with a bow, to me, that's a trophy. I mean, my best trophy isn't a deer, isn't a hog, it's an armadillo. I mean,
That's unique, you know?
how many times am I going to get a chance to shoot an armadillo with a bow?
Yeah.
And
Stick and
so
string, man.
yeah, I said about the rifle hunt. So hog hunting, I like to get out in South Carolina, North Carolina, and do a bunch of hog hunting. And you'd think it's easy because they got the feeders, they got the timers, they come in. Yeah, they're jumping around, running, acting like crazy. Um, so I had shot probably 3 or 4 with the bow at this point in time. Uh, my brother, he had gone through some things. My middle brother had gone through some things, and he had spent some time in the hospital. He got out. Me and my dad and my brothers Kevin and Alan, we said we're going to do something together because we live so close, and we're always around. And we're like, we got to go do something together. And they're like, well, let's go on a hog hunt. Hog hunts are easy. Yeah, okay. Like everything looks easy when you show the film after the fact. Um, but we go down to South Carolina and picked an outfitter, and it wasn't top notch. It was somewhere to go.
Some are real good and some are not.
Yep, yep. And so they took us out 45 minutes away from the lodge, and we're sitting out here in a farm field. Me and my brother Kevin are behind a cattle gate fence on 2 lawn chairs, and my dad and brother are over under, I swear, the only tree that was in that field that night. It was probably 100 acres, and that was one tree. And they're about 600 yards away from us, and we're sitting there with rifles and night vision, and we had it all worked out. You know, they come in, We're going to count to 3. We're going to shoot. If we need to shoot again, we're going to shoot again. Okay, so we're sitting there like 2-3 hours. It's like 11:30 at night, pitch black, and down there in the swamps, it's a whole different dark than we experience here at home.
Oh, I know
mean,
it.
You're hearing sounds, and you're like, "What's that? What's that?"
I'll
And
tell
you're
you a
jumping.
story afterwards about swamp hunting, but I won't tell it online.
I'll hang on for that one. But so we're sitting there, and I stand up, turn around, take a pee, and my brother had a little bit of a cold at the time, a coughing fit, and he's trying not to cough, but he's trying to tell me there's hogs. And I'm like, okay, so I'm trying not to pee on myself and everything else. And we leaned down, grabbed the guns, leaned them on the fence, got the night vision. It looked like TV we had mounted on the guns. And I'm not even sure what I had. It was lever action. But we're like, okay, ready? We had 4 hogs come in from our right side. We're sitting there and there's like 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So we lean our guns up and we're like, we're going to shoot on 3. And he counts down and bang. We shot simultaneous. 1 hog drops. The other hogs run away. And we look at each other and the hog's laying there kicking. And my brother, he just loves to unload the gun. He was
Sure.
getting ready.
That's the
He's
fun
like,
part.
I'm going to put another shot in it. I said, just relax. Wait, it's dead. It ain't. I said, if it gets up, you can shoot. Well, and it was probably only 30 seconds. Felt like a half hour. Hog's dead. We look at each other and he goes, which one did you shoot at? I said, I shot at the second one from the right. I said, which one did you shoot at? He said, I shot the third one from the left. I said, there's 4 hogs. So we're sitting there at the fence and we're doing the math and looking. I said, you dumbass. I said, we both shot at the same hog. So we
I
look
knew it was
at it.
going to be a good story when you started off with, we had it all figured out.
Yeah, we had a plan. The only thing we didn't talk, I think we just each in our mind assumed we were going to shoot the one in our window in our line because we were shoulder to shoulder.
Uh-huh.
And he was getting nervous. He said, the lawn chair's creaking. I said, well, quit moving. And we go up to the hog expecting to see 2 bullet holes in it. And we flipped this thing over and rolled it and rolled it and rolled it. We found 1 bullet hole. And my dad and brother, they come running across the field and they're like, what'd you guys do? We seen a flame go across the field, looked like a fireball. And you guys, how many shots was it? I said, just 2. And he goes, you guys had to shoot at the same time, simultaneous. He said, it was perfect. He said, we heard a squeal. We heard that hog. And we're looking at it. And he's like, which one of you hit it? And I said, well, I haven't ever in my life shot anything with a rifle other than a target. I said, so I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say that he shot it. And then we're going back to the lodge. And my younger brother goes, you hit that hog, didn't you? I said, I have no idea. I said, it was dark and we're at 100 yards in the dark. I said, all I know is it's dead. And you know what? Who cares?
Those are the best stories, Dan. Those are the best stories, man. Because I can tell you a story. You know, Buck. Buck and I ask him about it, but he can tell you about a story that he and I, we threw a lot of lead at this one deer, and we killed it, but there wasn't any bullet hole in that deer after we escaped it out.
That's the ones I like. Scared it to death.
I don't know what happened. I think we just about gave it a heart attack. Something happened because
that's what I was going to say. A heart attack.
Yeah. Well, speaking of heart attacks, Dan, what's out of all those stories, deer, hogs, armadillos, what's your biggest thrill? What gets your heart pumping out there, man? What's the best thing?
It has to be calling a buck in.
Mm-hmm.
And I've shot in the last 3 years. I've got my PA, 1 in PA for the last 3 years. In Maryland, I've got at least 2. But when you can sit there for hours, like I said, patience is it's odd that I got into bow hunting because that takes so much patience, and I have none. So I do a lot of calling, and I know I watch these videos on YouTube. Don't blind call, only call when this and only call when that, and that leaves you like 15 minutes a season where you're supposed to call.
Mm-hmm.
But like this year, we got done mowing the yard, and I'm my wife said, "Are you going to go out hunting?" I said, "No." That took about 5 minutes. I'm like, "Yeah, we got another hour. I can get out real quick here behind the house." I get out and I took the rattling antlers right before Halloween. Took the rattling antlers and the grunt tube and I start grunting. Here comes a 4-point. Here comes a 6-point. Here comes a spike. Here comes a doe. Plenty of deer around. I'm like, well, this was worth it in itself. Just I seen something, and I knew we had this big 8-point. We actually had 3 big 8s and a big 10 that were running together, and so I start rattling. I just beat the hell out of the rattling horns for a little bit, thinking, you know what? The other deer are either going to run off or not. But they just stand there and they start looking around. Off to my left, I seen a buck I had an encounter with about a week prior. He came in right at dark and couldn't get a shot at him. There was a skunk at the base of the tree stand. I stayed in for an extra hour or two, trying not to spook this buck. Wait till the skunk leaves. I spooked the buck anyway, figuring, well, he's not coming back. But no sooner than I hang the rattling horns up, I stand up, grab my bow, and the last half hour, I'm going to stand there with my bow just ready. And he's coming in downwind off to the side. He got a little iffy. I gave him a little grunt. He took a couple steps, and he's at 20 yards. Then he starts getting 30, 40, and he's finally in the window. And I'm like, I really don't want to shoot him at 40. And I had to give him a couple maps to stop him. He stopped, looked the other way. I shot. He dropped, or he arrow. I didn't see the arrow. He ducked, did the tail, did the run, did the death run. I'm thinking that was a solid shot. I look up. Here are the 3 other 8-points that we had, and the 10-point jumped out of they were 10 yards from him. I didn't even know they were there. They jumped out, ran one way. 8 doe ran the other way. And I'm thinking, what in the heck just happened? And I'm trying to gather myself, and I'm looking up, and here comes a neighbor down the driveway, and I called him real quick. I'm like, "Hey, Stennett, can you not go behind your house for an hour or two?" And he's like, "What?"
Do me
I
a
said,
favor.
"Yeah." I said, "I just shot a good one." I said, "I either hit it dead or I missed it complete." I said, "And I don't know." I said, "My heart was racing." I said, "He came in on a string. I didn't know what to expect." I said, "I don't know how I calmed myself to take the shot." And he's like, "Well, I wanted to till my garden." I'm like, you know what? That's perfect. I said, "That'll cover noise." I said, "You get the tiller up, get it fired." And I hear the tractor backfire, and you sound like Cousin Eddie out there. He's hitting rocks, ding dang. And I get down, look, blood everywhere, no arrow. I come back to the garage and I called Huzzy, my buddy, and I said, "Hey," I said, "I'm going to send you some footage." I said, "Tell me what you think." And his theory is if the deer's dead, it's going to be dead in 4 hours, 8 hours, or 12 hours.
All right.
My theory is if that deer's dead, I want him now. So we're
True.
going back and forth looking at the footage. I'm like, there's blood at the shot, but there's no arrow. So I went back down, took another 10 steps. The arrow's laying in the creek, just a blood trail the whole way. I walked at 80 yards, blood stopped. And I'm just heartbroken. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And they have a dry pond, and then there's a creek bed down about 8 foot. And I'm looking, I'm like, I looked off down, he's laying right in the creek bed. And I'm like, thank God I got him.
They always run to water.
I called him in, I got him, and he's down. And I'm like, okay, so I'll float him down the creek here another 10, 20 feet and get him out. I stood in that water, and that mucky creek bottom sucked me down to my knees. That thing dropped. I'm like, now what? I'm like, do I need to go get the gator with the winch, the tractor with the chain? What do I need to get? And I'm like, you know what? I'm pissed. I took my harness on my safety thing, wrapped it around a tree, laid it down in the creek, and yanked him up out, threw him on the bank, and sat there. Said, "Thank God you are down. You're done. We're good to go." But I mean, there's nothing like calling one in. Just to have them react at the way you want them to. I mean, you go all season and you see them walking, but to get that rattle and that grunt and get them to come running in and respond, and then being that close with them. I mean, knowing that he knows something's up, something's there, and just to being able to make the shot on him, that intensity is what I love. And it could be the same with groundhog. If I've got a groundhog standing up on his hind legs at 20 yards looking at me, I mean, I get the same thrill out of shooting a groundhog as I do a big buck.
It's the outsmarting the game or the prey. And they're not that smart, right? I mean, but
Yeah.
their senses are dialed in.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the difference. Like, I don't know that, whitetails are super smart animals, but their senses are so dialed in that it's definitely cat and mouse, especially when you're after a specific buck, like you got a target buck that you're after.
Yeah, and I mean, the area we're in, Ron, to get a target buck and get one that you've seen on camera and had
And the
multiple
neighbor doesn't
encounters
get it.
with, you're right, is odd. So to be able to see, because the worst part was that whole group was at my tree stand the day before PA opened. And I was down in Maryland, and I came home that night and said, I'm hunting that stand in the morning. I know full well they ain't coming back here in the morning. Instead, I had 15 doe, which is still, that's a heck of a sit. But just to be able to have multiple with him and not spook him to the point, but still that he knew something was there. And like you said, with senses, I mean, and that's why I love hunting hogs, even though hogs are, the people say they're just a dumb old hog. I mean, to me, they're harder to hunt than whitetails because they can't see. So they're relying on their scent and sound and everything else to be able to come in, which that what
Now,
makes hunting them a thrill.
now, when you grew up, you had hogs on the farm too?
Yeah, yep, we had farm hogs. Yep.
Yeah, because we had farm hogs growing up, but I never gone down south hunting them. Now, I went down south one time, and I was, whitetail hunting, and I had a whole swarm of, whole herd of hogs come through, and man, they just destroyed everything in their path. I
Yeah.
wouldn't have want to been on the ground.
Yeah.
But let me shift gears here a little bit because I know one of the things we talked about that is a passion of yours is physical fitness and mixing that into shooting. And why don't you tell us a little bit about that path or that passion that you got and some of the connections you've made?
Okay. Yeah. So it all started, I worked in construction. I worked in the field. I was welder, running backhoe. I was doing a physical job. I did that for about 10 years. And then I got pulled into the office to start drawing on the computer. And, office work, sitting there, you're pretty much sedentary and you get out of shape and winded easy and bored. Um, I had planned an elk hunt, and I wanted to go on an elk hunt in Colorado in the worst way. And I think that was in like 2018 or 2019. And that's what I mean. I
We
killed
all want
one.
to we all want to go on that elk hunt.
I killed one button buck, and all of a sudden I want to kill hogs. I want to kill elk. I want to shoot everything I can shoot. Which, drives my wife crazy, but bless her, she's so supportive of the whole thing. She knows the arrows, the grain, the broadheads that I use, and Christmas is always fun. Um, but yeah, so I'm like, well, I need to get in shape. And you guys
Right.
know around here, I mean, we're flatlanders. I mean, if we have a hill that's 100 feet, that's a mountain to us.
It's worse where
Um,
Chris is from.
yeah, yeah. So, how I've tried to figure out a way, how can I get in shape for this elk hunt? Because I don't want to blame any physical limitations on failure of the hunt. I don't want any excuses. I want to be able to chase them some bitches up the hill, down the hill, wherever. So I started, doing workouts and I go out and shoot and, you stand out there and you shoot flat footed at 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 yards, whatever it is. And you can only do so much of it. And then, like we can't get that elevation difference. So I was thinking, how can I do this? So why don't I do some sprints? Why don't I do 10 push-ups and try to shoot an arrow? And that basically to me started to simulate, when you get that deer, when you get that hog in range, your heart's pumping and you
That
got to hold
adrenaline
that bow
push.
straight. Yeah. So I started doing different regimen workouts where I'd run, shoot, keep doing stupid shit, throwing hay bales, throwing a tire, dragging a tire, whatever it was, to the point where I'm dead tired. Can I still pick that bow up and shoot? Because talking to the guides
Yeah,
and
it's been
stuff,
shooting steady.
yeah, they're like, can you run up a hill and shoot? I'm like, yeah, I can run up the sand mound and shoot. And he's like, yeah, that's great. That's 6 feet. He's like, I'm talking run up a side of a mountain and still, once you get there, you're going to be tired. You're going to be winded. Are you going to be able to make that shot? And I'm like, okay, I get it. So I spent 2 years, doing all this stuff. Went out, did the hunt. I wasn't successful by killing an animal, but man, it was a hell of an experience. And got back home here, and it just turned into, that's my regimen. I'd go out and I shoot 5 arrows and do 20 push-ups or do 20 sit-ups or whatever it might be, just, to keep it moving and do that. And funny thing was, so Big Truck down in Maryland, Big Truck Brewery, they have a hell of an archery course. Kip and Kobe do a great job of putting on 3D shoots. And I think starting in like April, he runs 3D shoots once a month the whole way till Maryland season comes in. So we were going down there, and me and Huzzy and Garrett and Nate, our buddy, and we're doing the 3D shoots. And the one 3D shoot, we get back from doing the course, and Kobe makes hot dogs and lets you try the Big Truck beer and all that, and you shoot the shit. And he's got some interesting stories, being a Marine and being involved with what he does. And there's 2 guys standing there, and they had a sled, the old black jet sled, and they had 3 sandbags. And they're like, "What do you guys want to try something?" And he comes in, he's like, you're going to shoot an arrow at 20 yards, you're going to run a sandbag 30 yards, you're going to run back, you're going to shoot an arrow at 30, you're going to run another sandbag down, run back 40, then you're going to bring that whole sled back, like 90, 100-pound sled, back up the hill. And I'm just grinning ear to ear. And Huzzy and Nate, they're like, this is nuts. This is what you love to do. This is what you do at home. I'm like, I didn't know anybody else did this stupid shit.
Yeah, it's like a strongman comp, and you're mixing in archery.
So yeah, so we ran that, and then they were there like the next 3 or 4 weeks, and they're like, hey, do you want to come to our competition? And I've shot archery competitions, in a Marcio, shooting the 3D screen or shooting the 3-400, whatever they do, paper. And I don't get a lot out of that. I mean, to me, that's boring. You're just shooting and it's there and you're standing still. And I cannot do it. I am a terrible target shooter. I respect the hell out of anybody that can stand there and put 3 arrows in a dime at 20 yards. That ain't me. I shoot for that kill spot. And they're like, well, we're doing this. We're going to do a competition down here. It's a 3-day thing over the weekend, and we're going to call it Goat Rodeo Archery. And I'm like, okay. So we're pulling sleds. We're running head-to-head competitions for time. And the whole thing was, can you outrun bad shooting? So Chad and Kris, who mainly run the Goat Rodeo and do all this stuff, they're like, can you outrun bad shooting? I'm like, yeah, I'm cocky. Yeah.
Sure.
Turns out you can't.
Believe in yourself.
They actually have like a time penalty system built in. Like if you get a bullseye, it's no time. If you get a 10 ring, it's 20 seconds added, 40 seconds a minute for a miss. And then you start to find out, can you shoot under pressure? Can you make the shot when it counts? And so I beat it around a little bit. I came home, told my wife, and she's like, I didn't realize there was any other idiots like you out there.
Yeah, there's a whole group of them.
I said, yeah. I guess they just been hiding. So, so I signed up for it. It was a 3-day weekend, and what it was about, it wasn't just about the physicality and the shooting. It was more about kind of what you guys are trying to build and what you're building off of with the collaborative that you're doing, with all the different people and all the different areas that you guys are reaching. And their whole thing is, they're trying to build a stronger archery community.
Yeah, I love it.
Which in my mind is, archery is about the most isolated sport you can do. I mean, you think about it, you're in that tree stand by yourself 2, 3, 4, 8 hours, whatever it is a day. But actually, I think from what archery and bow hunting has given to me has been a stronger sense of community and a stronger sense of friendships out of it. Um, because what we wind up doing is there's a group of us that we texting each other like I don't bug me when I'm in the tree stand. But like before and after, I mean, we're driving home from Maryland. We all hunt Maryland. We got half hour, an hour drive, and we're, what did you see? What did you do? How did they react? And it's made me a better bow hunter, from Garrett and Huzzy and them guys are just telling the stories. Because when you hear their story and when you're in the woods and you have that experience, I mean, the first thing in my mind goes back, okay, his deer came in, did this and this. So I need to be waiting and look for this. Um, and it's just, I mean, it's so much fun just to shoot the shit and talk about, how your hunt went, what happened, what you see, what you do. And that's been huge. And like I said, Bruce and Garrett and Huzzy, I mean, I owe a lot to them guys for getting me into this and introducing me to the sport and then sharing their knowledge with me. And through the goat rodeo, I met some great people. I mean, I met a handful of great people that we stay in touch all the time. And we did our second goat rodeo last year, and just that sense of community and everything. And, with what those guys poured into me, made me want to help other people out too. So I took the one guy, Derek, with me this year a couple times, and he's 30, 35 years old, and he hunted in the past, but he was like me. It went like 15, 20 years till he hunted.
Mm-hmm.
And so we got him out, and I took him and set him up in some stands and got some
That's
things.
what it's
And
about, man.
I
Yeah.
tell you what, I mean, 2 years ago, I shot 12 deer. Last year, I shot 13. This year, I've only shot 5 deer. But taking him along and seeing him shoot his first deer with the bow and his excitement and being able to track it with him and go through that process of teaching him, here's what to look for, here's how to do it. And it would that's another funny story. I mean, he shot his first doe. It was like 7:30 in the morning, and he's calling me and he's like, I don't want to ruin your hunt. And I'm like, I'm already down the tree stand. I'm like,
Yeah.
I could care less. I said, I want to come, see what you did and help you. And we start tracking, and I'm like, okay, here, here, here. And I'm like, can you see it? Can you see it? And he's like, dude, I'm colorblind. I'm colorblind. I just completely forgot. And I'm like, look at the red. Look at the red.
That's where you need, a buddy. Kris says it, you touched on it earlier, but Kris says it all the time. About, this being like archery is a, solitude sport. And, the camaraderie you get in some of the other forms of hunting, outside of archery, Kris echoes that all the time. One of the things that I would also say, just listen to you talk, because we're all about getting somebody else into it, building that community, obviously, which is why, we want to connect with groups like you and what you guys are doing. But, I had somebody say to me one time, we were gutting a deer, and he said, I've seen it done a million times, but nobody showed me how to do it,
Right. Yep.
and you know what, that stuff matters when you take the
And
time. And I'm
you're
happy to
right.
do that. You're happy to get out of the tree and go help somebody else out.
Yeah, because I mean, down in Maryland, we got to quarter them. Well, I mean, we could gut them, but there's certain butchers, so we got to quarter them, and just showing him how to quarter them, and then seeing him shoot his first buck. I mean, oh my God, we were like a bunch of little giddy schoolgirls running around there. He shot a nice little 7-point, and we're just like, this is crazy. And he's like, all right, now let's get down to it. He's like, don't do anything. I want you to show me and tell me how to do it so I can do it on my own.
Right.
And I'm like, because Garrett and Huzzy and Bruce all showed me this stuff, now I can pass it on and not be selfish about it. Just it made the whole hunting season, being able to, like, hunt with different people and focus on things a lot more fulfilling, I'll say.
I love it, man. I love it.
And but yeah,
Well,
like what you guys talk about with the community thing. I mean, we've got that with the goat rodeo. I mean, there's a bunch of us going down. There's another guy who's doing his own. He's calling it the Appalachian Bow Hunter Challenge down in West Virginia, which is going to suck because it's on a ski slope. It's a 5K on a ski slope with a
You
weighted
can
pack,
have it.
but
You can have it, man. I'll tell you right now. I can't
yeah,
run up a hill, let alone run up a hill and then shoot my bow.
yeah, we're looking forward to that. That's part. He came to their event in Maryland, so just spread the community, extend it out, and help him out and get the word out for him and get people into it.
Well, you got a bunch of stories, man. So we're gonna have you back to finish.
Yeah, man. We'll have to do this. We'll have to do this again for sure, man.
Yeah. Let's
Well,
jump
there is
into some
one.
real quick. Go
Can
ahead.
I throw one in real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
So the best stories come from the hog hunting. And we were down in South Carolina, me and my buddy Tyler, and he was hunting. I was hunting with the bow and the ground blind at night, and he was hunting with the gun, the night vision, the thermal, all that. And I had shot one hog. Actually, I'd shot two that night. I shot through the one, it dropped on the spot, got the other one, and it's pitch black. There's armadillos bouncing off the tent, freaking me out, hearing sounds and everything. And that was at like midnight. And then it was like 4 a.m. I mean, he was still in his stand about a mile and a half, 2 miles away, and I'm in my ground blind. And I hear boom. And we had no cell service. We had the Garmins, they were kind of working. So he messaged me on that. He goes, I just shot a big hog. I said, okay, cool. I said, I'll wait till daylight and I'll come over to you. And I got to him, and he comes down out of the hut, and we look over, and there's a big old hog laying under the feeder, and we're just hugging, smiling, jumping up and down, laughing. We call the guide. Can you come get us? He's like, no, I'm sleeping. I'm tired.
The guide says that.
Yeah, I'm like, you listen, we just drove 10 hours. We hunted all night long, and you're tired? He's like, yeah, there's a sled you guys can grab. So we grabbed the sled, and we mucking through the swamps. We grabbed this hog, and it was probably about a 350-pound hog. He had nice tussin on him. And we start dragging this sled, and we're walking along, and we had probably a quarter mile to go to the truck. And this was like 7:30 in the morning, so you can see nothing's going to surprise us or nothing else. And we were both pretty out of shape. You could tell. We start dragging this 300-pound hog through the sage and through everything else down in there. And we get we get maybe halfway to the truck, and he goes, holy shit. About 30 yards from us is an 8-foot gator just swimming back and forth.
That's what makes me nervous about hunting in the swamp.
Well, and I mean, we should have known and assumed that there was gators there, but the guy never told us. And we're like, that would have been valuable information at the time. But
well,
he's like,
I don't know where this outfitter was, but if he didn't want to go get that hog for you, that's not the.
Well, and that's
I wouldn't
what we
be
said.
Recommending them to a friend or family member.
Which I will not. But he looks over and he goes, are they faster on the land? I said, I believe so. So we start sprinting, and there's this old bridge with holes in it and boards, and we're sprinting across this thing, slipping and sliding, and I fall and drop my leg down through the bridge, and he's keeping an eye on the gator. It's coming towards us, of course, because we got a bloody hog in the swamp. And I bounced off the bridge and pulled my leg out of the bridge. We sprint to the truck. Both of us grabbed that hog, threw it up on top of the truck, I don't even know what kind of Olympic jump we did onto the tailgate. We're up there out of breath and sitting there, and he's watching this gator, and it's back and forth, and it swims away, and he grabs a beer and hands me a beer. He goes, I know it's early, but it's late. Yeah. And I said, no problem. I said, I'm not worried, and we're just talking about this, and we're sweating and laughing. I put my head down. All of a sudden, I hear the gun click. And I look up, and he's got the gun over my shoulder, and there's a 4-foot gator that's come up out of the bank, and he goes, how much did he tell us it cost to shoot a 4-foot hog? Or a 4-foot gator?
Yeah, you just got to pay extra for that.
I said, don't. He said, I think he owes us that after putting us in this situation with an 8-foot gator dragging it through the swamp and not knowing. He goes, I think that's going to be supper.
There you go.
I said, Tyler, please put the gun down. Let's get the hell out of here.
That's crazy, but those are the stories, man. They live with you. You know, those stories live with in infamy.
Yeah, that was probably good 8 years ago. And as soon as we see each other and say something, he's like, "I should have shot that alligator."
Right. What are you going to do? What are you going to do about
Yep.
it? Well, go ahead, Kris.
Well, like I said, we're going to get into a real quick thing, rapid fire questions as we wrap up. You're like one of us, man. You're in the club now, man. You got stories on stories, and you start telling them, and it's like uncorking a fountain there. So,
Appreciate that.
favorite piece of bow hunting equipment? We got one thing. What's your favorite piece that you take with you?
Rattling antlers.
What about you, Ron? What's your next one?
One go-to tip for staying sharp in the off season. What do you do in the off season? So
Get the heart rate up. Get the heart rate up and shoot. Jumping jacks, burpees, push-ups, whatever.
Dream hunt. You got all the money in the world to go do what you want. Where are you going? What you doing?
Oh, that's gonna have to be an Alaskan moose hunt.
another big animal. So if your favorite piece of equipment's your rattling antlers, what's your favorite calling or rattling strategy?
Three short soft grunts. Wait about 5-10 minutes. Give 2 deep grunts. Hit the antlers. Give one more grunt and just grab the bow and wait.
It's like sheet music.
Oh yeah, I do it in my head in the truck the whole way to work.
I do that with my goose call sometimes.
I can get that. I've tried that.
Yeah. Well, this hour went by quick, Ron, huh?
I know. That's what happens when you start telling stories. You know, time flies. We're just about at an hour. So Dan, appreciate you, hanging out with us tonight, man. Even hopping on a little early and telling some stories it's cool to reconnect, and knowing that we run similar circles. You have to tell some of those guys that know me that I say hey. And
will do, no doubt.
where can listeners find you, follow you online?
Instagram, Mason Dixon Adventures, and same thing on YouTube, Mason Dixon Adventures.
All right.
And also
awesome.
look up Go Rodeo Archery. Like I said, I'm pretty involved in that, and we're going to be putting on another event here at Big Truck Brewery in the summer. At this point, it looks like it might be like middle of June, late June. We had 20 the first year, 30 last year, and it's not just for, physical fitness nut jobs. It's anybody can do it. 'Cause like I said, it's based off of, your shooting ability and not your physical. It matches everything. And a couple of the things that we've done was, like compass reading, map reading. So there's some other events, team building, community events, storytelling that are thrown into that, to try to bring in some other people that are like on the verge or need some guidance with it. And it's reached a lot of people that I can say probably wouldn't have jumped into bow hunting, but from just, shooting 3D targets and showing up at that event has really brought a bunch of people together that normally wouldn't get together.
Well, the one thing I loved about it when you and I first connected, we had a phone call and we were talking about, things that you're passionate about, outside of just bow hunting and being an outdoorsman was, the push for community and what these guys do. So we'll have to connect with them as well, and see if we can cross pollinate and promote what they're doing for them as well. So
yeah, I know they'd love to talk to you as if you all's will.
yeah. Any final thoughts or shout outs from you, man? You want to shout anyone out?
I mean,
Do it now.
thank you guys for, giving me this opportunity and coming on and getting to meet you. And we'll find out tomorrow if it went well, if I hear from you again or not.
Yeah. Well, no, man, you're in now. This is like the mob. Yeah, like once you're in, you can't get out that easy. So you're
That's
stuck with
fine
the
with
group.
me. I could be hanging out with a bunch worse people. I can tell you that.
I hear you. I hear that.
Well, Kris, maybe, I don't know.
Kris, who do we got coming up, man? What's the next episode looking like?
Man, the next one we got Brian, who's part of the Young and Wild crew.
Yeah, Brian's
Those are
coming
some
on.
cool bow hunters. They're from a little further away, right, Ron?
Yeah, they're out in I don't want to get it wrong, but they're out like Blair, Huntington County, PA. So they're Midwestern PA, somewhere out there.
Really high quality production.
Great group of guys.
Videos,
so
yeah.
Brian will come on. He'll tell some stories next week.
Yeah, he's next week, and then we got a round table about some deer stuff. Got some duck hunters coming on. Tired of hearing you guys talk about hanging in the tree, shooting your bow. So we're gonna.
It's time to start talking waterfowl. I hear you.
It's getting close.
We're gonna make time to do it.
Yeah.
All right, Kris. Final words from you, bro.
No, man. Happy 26 to you guys, and onward and upward. Let's keep going.
All right. Appreciate you guys. As always, we're going to sign off and, just want to shout out the group. Remember, get outdoors, stay wild. Nature is our playground.